There we are back with the bans and draft. Team Secret here, they are team number A and they will ban first, and we immediately get the answer that we have the Black Feather ban. So Black Feather is out. With this information, I'm going to toss it over to Rome. Black Feather, super strong. We have seen him performing today, yesterday. What does that mean? What is Snow Tsunami going to ban, or even though, like, what is Team Secret going to pick first?
What Secret is looking forward to is by banning out this Black Feather, they're able to pretty much put Team Snow on specific heroes. We do see a lot of Cruels running out of both teams in previous matches, combined with the Scarf. So we're having two separate teams here that do like to play the same types of compositions. They do like to approach this game pretty evenly. A great ban coming out of them would be to try and secure out this Arden pick, because they know like as long as they force Mowgli onto that Finn, they're able to make sure like they have that early game pressure, and that's where I think Team Snow will focus on.
Alright, look at me, the captain, the overall captain of Team Snow. He is calling out that Arden ban, whereas Mowgli is replying instantly, we pick Adagio. Adagio, an opener, a flexible one to build a composition around. That is, we know that Team Secret's former known as Mediapixel Esport, they are super strong with that Adagio. Snow Tsunami coming good in this draft, or what's their strategy? What could it be?
Well, I think that with the Adagio, you're looking at something potentially like the Black Feather, like the Krull. You could even put some emphasis on a Vox as well. It's all about building around a hyper carry or a main carry that you can put a lot of emphasis onto. We saw it work very nicely with a Sky earlier in our best of three between Snow Avalanche and Rebel Tigers, and they could be looking for a similar sort of strategy. I'm curious as to what Snow Tsunami decide to try and counteract this Adagio pickup that Team Secret have gone for.
Most certainly. Waiting for Snow Tsunami, and they are two picks. Of course, giving them a couple of seconds here to decide that pick. Action Jackson, you know, you're facing Adagio as a first drafted hero. They are going for that Finn and Vox. So Finn is not on the side from Team Secret. It is on the side from Snow Tsunami together with So Strong Vox. What does that mean for the match now? Like Team Secret looking for their last two heroes? Who could that be?
I think there's a lot of options here, to be honest. I mean, for example, they could run the fast push composition that we saw yesterday. They have the capability of doing that with the Adagio. Or they could run, Adagio in the lane and maybe like something that does a lot of damage in the jungle, or they could run it in the jungle and have like a super strong carry laner. It is so flexible that it's almost impossible to predict where they're going to go with it, just based off of the one pick. I mean, if we're looking at what would be good against Finn and Vox, personally I like the fast push comp, because Finn and Vox, they get really strong later on. So if you can just fast push and get an advantage early, you can kind of counteract that.
So we will see what Team Secret is going to pick. Rome, since they did not decide yet, do you agree to what Action Jackson said, or do you have a different idea of the draft for Team Secret here?
This is actually like a very good scenario where they do have the option of running the push comp, trying to secure up that Saw and Catherine will work really well. But with the Adagio coming as that flex pick, I think after they've seen the Finn and they've seen that Vox, they should be able to pick a composition just to counteract against this. Running a Ringo is awesome in the lane. Even running a Glaive in the lane will give them that certain momentum, especially having those buffs coming out of Adagio.
We do see here Koshka and Ringo will be the final roster. We haven't seen Ringo for a little while, at least not today as far, and to yesterday, yeah, I think only once. But Adagio, Koshka, Ringo, with Snow Tsunami now picking that Kestrel. What are your last thoughts, Rome, before we jump into that match?
I'm thinking that this match, we're going to see a lot of early rotations coming out of the side of Team Secret. Expect that Ringo to be able to quickly push that lane and rotate down. as long as they're able to make sure they maneuver around Kestrel's arrows, I think that Koshka will be able to engage and take over that jungle really early. This all depends on how well Kestrel is able to land her skill shots and how well she uses her camel to pretty much evade all those early game jumps.
Alright, we are kicking off the match. The players are locking in the finals, ladies and gentlemen. Europe, it is Team Secret versus Snow Tsunami in a best of 5 series, commentated by Action Jackson and Vedius in just a second.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are onto the fold for the finals. This first qualifier for VGL's winter season. My name's Action Jackson. With me is Vedius, as always. I am so excited for this series, Vedius. Team Secret, formerly Media Pixel. Such a strong team. Snow Tsunami on the other side has had a very good performance in the last few rounds, especially of the tournament. It's a best of 5. We're going to get to see lots of action from these guys. Let's just hop straight into it.
Yeah, we certainly are going to hop straight into this one, and I really want to hype up how big it is for an organization like Team Secret to be picking up this talented European roster that is Media Pixel, as, Palmatoro goes to the fight.
Already doing a pretty substantial amount of damage. That's exactly what you'd expect out of a Koshka, and as you would expect that, you gotta wonder, what was Tsunami doing being so far up? He actually might get more right now. Sasuke, look at Palmatoro right out of the gates, finding himself 2 kills.
So Team Secret want to show their organization, okay, this is it. You hired us as a team, and we're going to prove why we're worth it. Already kicking off the bat with 2 kills is a phenomenal way to start this game. They have that early game composition, and they are taking advantage of it right off the bat. Phenomenal stuff, and Team Secret so far seem to have made a great choice in terms of their team selection.
They absolutely have, and, you know, I love this. Palmatoro has been a very aggressive jungle presence in all of their games, but he's been playing, like, for example, Kroll, something which scales up very heavily. In fact, until, I believe, yesterday, we hadn't seen him play anything other than Kroll pretty much, because Safe was the jungler that they were using in the earlier rounds. Koshka, I can't think of a better hero for him. PT Lamb, hang on a second, Qualifier, not going to be able to find that one. Polite Company Shield comes through, but revisiting my previous point, I can't think of a better hero for Palmatoro to be playing on.
Yeah, this guy has always been the person that just instigates fights. I went back through some of the games that we've seen in the past, and he just loves to go for these fights, even if they look absolutely bizarre to the rest of us, because he knows that his team is going to back him up. Mowgli is the shot caller, and all he says to Palmatoro is like, okay, you're allowed to fight right now. And Palmatoro flicks a switch, he engages almost immediately without any hesitation, and always comes out ahead. His KDA in the past was absolutely phenomenal, and after the semi-finals match yesterday, it was hurt a little bit, but he's still rocking a 9 KDA in that jungle position. Phenomenal player, and it just emphasizes how stacked up this Team Secret lineup really is.
Yeah, and the thing is, obviously, his KDA was hurt pretty badly because it was over 20 before, but that just shows you how strong the teams are later in this tournament. And I want to highlight the fact that Snow Tsunami is one of those very strong teams. They've still got the potential to come back into this one. Their comp scales very nicely into the later stages of the game, but this is a good start for Team Secret. This is exactly what you want to be doing when you pick up a Koshka in your draft.
It certainly is, and they're doing a great job of that, but can they maintain it? And as I say, that Palmatoro already going for the aggressive invade with the Koshka. They're stealing away the front camps, but they're not quite yet supporting it with that vision, keeping an eye on what Mowgli decides to do with those scout traps, because it is going to be important to help facilitate these aggressive early invades and plays. Sasuke might be the one in danger right now.
That is so much damage. Qualifier, if he'd been just a hair closer at the beginning of that fight, Sasuke would have gone down. Very, very close. Look at me not really doing too much damage to Mowgli with those glimmer shots. I like this aggression coming out of Team Secret.
The great thing is, what we've seen a lot from Europe is this innovation against Kestrel, who was stupidly popular in the VIPL, and people were struggling to figure out how to deal with it. And Team Secret were one of the teams that developed this Krull Arden strategy, where you pick these heroes that can very easily just jump on top of the Kestrel, stick to her, and prevent her from positioning in a way where she can just get all that Glimmer Shot damage off. And somebody that also supports that fantastic strategy is this Adagio plus Koshka strategy. You're gonna have Koshka jumping onto the backline, you're gonna have all that additional damage and healing support from Mowgli, and you're just gonna shred through the backline of Kestrel, and then coming into the later stages, they just switch their target onto the higher priority PT Lam on this Vox. I really like the draft coming out from Team Secret, and I think that they have an answer to Snow Tsunami's composition at every stage of play.
I absolutely agree with you. The question is going to be whether or not Snow Tsunami can find any openings, any chinks in the armor of the very strong composition of Team Secret. As it stands, they're not being given any opportunities to do so, forced very far back in their jungle. They haven't left their side of the map in the last, well, 5 minutes.
No, they certainly have not. One thing I want to quickly address is one thing that I'm expecting to see is a breaking point coming out from Qualifier. When you're playing against this Finn, they're going to be pretty tanky later on, and that sets you up perfectly for getting those breaking point stacks. And once you've got those breaking point stacks, you can very easily shred through that front line that is that Finn. So keep an eye out for that type of itemization. If it's not the first item, it's very likely to be somewhere on his priority list.
All right, so we're seeing the gold mine immediately get picked up here by Team Secret. And we get about 200 gold each off the back of that. Very nice payout early on in the game here. And you can see that in terms of the global gold overall, 11.2 thousand in the favor of Team Secret, up against that 9.6. At only 6 minutes, that's actually quite a substantial lead. And with the 2 kills up that they have, they're in a nice spot. Qualifier needs to be careful not to over-aggress. We're seeing Tsunami play a lot in the lane. You know, they're spending a lot of their time up there making sure he can't find any kills, or if he pushes up too far, they can get a pick onto him. But Qualifier is keeping his wits about him.
But look at the positioning from Qualifier. He's always staying at the top end of the lane because he knows that the only way that a Finn is going to be able to drag him in pre-level 6 is with that polite company and following that up with a quibble. And as long as Qualifier stays just out of range of that, wow, look at me, ends up falling down.
Palmatoro finally starting to aggress a little bit deeper into the enemy jungle, does get that kill. You might see the turret go down pretty fast here. Look at that damage. There's going to be the Yummy Catnip Frenzy as well onto PT Lam. Qualifier with the attacks doesn't quite find it. One shot, one kill from the base. Look at me. Doesn't have the damage just yet to actually find any kills with it, though. Massive plays out of Team Secret.
Oh, but there's the Hellfire Brew. It should be able to land.
It does, but Polite Company does provide that small shield, which should stop him from going down. Does mean he has to walk back to base rather than recalling them.
And that's going to hurt him a little bit, and also set up for Team Secret to get this effective siege as the Forced Accord comes out from Sasuke. That likely came out because he wanted to go back to base anyway, and he was just like, yeah, if you come anywhere near this turret, I'm going to drag you under it and you're going to die. So it's more about sending a message and rather than anything else. So interesting play from Sasuke, but it does result in Team Secret backing away off the turret. Now, recapping of what happened in that exchange, PT Lam went for a very early reflex block because he knew that Palmatoro would be putting a bit of emphasis on top of him. Problem was, he wasn't quite able to get the reflex block off in time, but even he was still able to get that shield, and that shield at the very end kept him alive and enabled him to escape. The problem was that Team Secret was still able to secure themselves a turret off the back of it, so they're going to be pretty happy off the back of that, given how much control over the map that they currently have.
They have a lot of control over the map, that is for sure. Also rocking a very substantial gold lead for only 8.5 minutes, and maybe trying to extend that here with a push onto the turret. This time, they're not doing it off the back of a pick, though, so they've got to be careful not to over-aggress. We've got Forced Accord back off cooldown for Sasuke. Palmatoro jumping right in there, and immediately the turret gets melted. Tons of damage coming out. There's the Yummy Catnip Frenzy as well. Look at me. Immediately goes down. Forced Accord still available. Sasuke doesn't really have an opportunity to use it here, though.
You better look at him, because you're not going to see him very often if he keeps spending his time lying flat down on the floor, given how aggressive Palmatoro is with all of these ultimates. He has no hesitation, and I feel like Snow Tsunami should have expected that sort of a play to come out from Team Secret. The moment that they took down that turret, there was no reason for them not to go for that play. And Look At Me hasn't completed that reflex block yet, meaning that there was no way for him to avoid that. The follow-up was available from Mowgli, from Qualifier, and he ends up losing his life very, very quickly. Palmatoro now sitting at level 10, completed the aftershock, completing his own reflex block, as well as that sitting at 4-0 and 0, 100% kill contribution, and is really dictating the pace of this game.
Something I want to touch on whilst we're on the topic of items is Look At Me going for this tension bone. Now, it's obviously a very strong item. It does a lot for you in the early game, but when you're losing this heavily... Oh, Qualifier! What a good forced accord coming out of Sasuke, but Mowgli blocks the one-shot, one-kill, even when Snow Tsunami hook you into their base at 10 minutes, he doesn't go down. That is insanity, Vedius.
You have to give massive props to Mowgli right there, though, simply because all of the actives were used. You saw a reflex block, a crucible, and a fountain of renewal, all used to just keep Qualifier alive. And you know Mowgli is sitting there like, yo, Qualifier, can you just slow down a little bit? Let's not forget that they do have a forced accord on their team. They can drag you in if you're even slightly overextended, and they can come back into this game. Remember the comeback mechanic that we're so used to seeing from Europe? And Team Secret, they're no strangers to that comeback mechanic themselves.
That's true, but we haven't seen too many of them, at least in the later stages. Palmatoro jumping right in onto this turret. That's going to be a crucible pop. The turret goes down. Forced Accord is available yet again. Qualifier needs to be careful about staying too far up. We saw what happened earlier.
We certainly did. But Team Secret maintaining that aggressive stance. They know they have the early game, and I feel like Team Secret are one of, if not the most decisive teams in Europe. They have no hesitation with what to do with their lead. You can see the advantage that they built up. They had a 6,000 gold lead, and it was turret after turret after turret. They didn't bother wasting time farming around the jungle. They just grouped up, went for the turret, and then they rotated around, potentially looked for a fight, and that just demonstrates how smart and how confident this whole team is. Team Secret, not only as a team, but as an organization, has been doing so much for this lineup. They told us before this weekend that they wanted to prove to their new organization that they were worthy of that support, and so far throughout this semi-finals and finals they are demonstrating just that.
I have to say, I think it's the worst kept secret of VGL.
No, I'm not giving you that one.
What? Come on. It was low hanging fruit.
Keep trying.
Admit,
maybe next time. Maybe next time.
All right. Well, I'll get there eventually. I'll eventually earn your respect with my jokes.
Maybe. Yeah.
Sasuke, returning to the game, is looking for maybe an engagement here. But the fact that Team Secret are pressuring onto Vein Crystal turrets at only 12.5 minutes is a massive deal right now. Palmatoro jumps right in, immediately bursts through it. This could be the opportunity, though, for Tsunami. Sasuke tries to go for the hook, but he's not going to find anyone. Immediately, Palmatoro and Qualifier get a kill onto Look At Me, and they just get to run away. How does that happen at 12.5 minutes, Vedius?
Confidence, teamwork, and amazing players. And that pretty much sums up Team Secret in 3 words. Palmatoro doesn't care. I talked about this at the very start of the game. He's just like, yo, boss, can I go? And Mogi's like, yeah, if you want. And so he just goes for it. He knows his team is going to back him up. He doesn't have to ask them. And he's just like, I'm going to go for this. And Mowgli is always there to back him up. It is fantastic to see. They shut down the turret. PT Lam is able to get the reflex block off, but it doesn't matter because the damage from Team Secret is too much for him to handle. And then very smartly, Team Secret don't overextend. They go back. They realize they have gold to spend. They pick up some items. Qualifier still sitting on top of that infusion, but they're just going to rinse and repeat and go back to what they were doing.
Well, they've only got to do it one more time in order to take the only remaining turret down that is currently standing for Snow Tsunami. If they find this turret, it's going to be such an uphill struggle for Tsunami to get back into this game. Right now, Sasuke hovering around the base platform, might be looking to get Force Cord into it. Palmatoro rinsing and repeating just like you mentioned, jumping right onto the turret. It goes down. The Vein Crystal is exposed. They're going to try and take this one out. Team Secret, they want to get the win right here, right now. It's going to fall. Team Secret in 14 minutes finds themselves the first win of the Grand Finals.
And Palmatoro still doesn't die. Less than 15 minutes